This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Heyo, how's it going?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Nope, it's still not open. Dang it.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh, okay. Come here, dude. Come here, buddy. Come on up here. Come here. Hmm. What's up? Wow. I haven't seen that commercial in a long time. That wasn't the frog
there
one,
was
though.
Not a single person here either.
That was the dude on the
Feeling
phone,
a wave
remember?
of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Except I walked down.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Well, the
All
frogs
of my
were
co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for
No.
reason at all.
Hold
None
on.
of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So,
Samson
he
is
imagined himself flying and began to gently
full
float
of it
above the
today.
ground. Then
Whoa, what?
He imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner.
I was literally trying to
Why
get
is there a
Samson.
voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself.
I missed like
I'm
half
through
of
with
this. I should have
dream.
paused it.
I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Samson was trying to dig into my trash. And I came back, and next
Stanley
thing you know,
began
like,
screaming. Please, someone, wake me up.
stars
My name
are
is Stanley.
floating
I have
around.
a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What the hell is
Mariella
this?
woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this
She saw
particular
Stanley.
day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
That was it? That was probably the best one. So anyways, Samson jumped in here, jumped in the window, was trying to get into the trash. I don't know why. I don't know if he was trying to walk on it or what. So I stood up, picked him up. He got pissed and he left. Next thing I know, I'm floating off the ground and like stars are everywhere. I'm like, what the hell? I wasn't expecting that.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, and look at this. It opened. I kind of want to see that ending again because I missed most of it.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
But we got all of them now. We got the new content.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations.
I've heard
For
that
example,
Tangled
why
was
couldn't
actually
he see
pretty
his
good.
feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. and he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
All right, this is where I came back.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley
I think I have Princess and the Frog. I think I bought it.
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock.
But I don't think I've ever watched it.
After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt
there's another
the cool
game that's
weight of the
similar to
blanket
this.
on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back.
Oh, it's actually really good too.
The world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I
was trying to get the platinum on it again.
I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real.
I don't remember the name of it.
Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And
it's really good, too. It's actually really fun.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Captain Keys? What is that? Hold on. I gotta find the name of that game. I can't think of the name of it. It's very similar to this. I was playing it not too long ago. Superliminal, that's it. It's a lot like this.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean? New content.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please
Yeah, I'm good.
Step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley
Just felt like I had
Parable
something in my throat.
Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Board game.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, here we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Oh, you only have 35? You can only do it in here. Oh. The elevators don't. Oh. They don't bother me.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is
You
new
couldn't
content,
jump in
then
the
I could
original.
just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more.
1,000
Very
hours?
good. Yes. I
Does
knew
it
there
take
had to
them
be
so
something
long
else.
to count
Let's
to a
see it.
trillion?
I'm ready for whatever it is.
Take them 1,000 hours. Oh my god.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Sure. Wait a minute. This don't look right. What's going on here? Now we got the pictures of the old room.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
I don't know if I trust that. Fine.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
What in the world?
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
The memory zone. Oh, we got another rotary phone. What was? Wait, what did I miss? I don't even know what that is, Calmethius. OF? I don't know what that is. What is that? And I don't know what you're talking about censored.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something.
Oh, wow.
Oh, the waste.
They're actually burning the industry now. That is crazy. Back then, they actually had integrity. Well, look at that. They even got the Steam page. I didn't know what you guys were talking about. I just now saw that. Now it makes a lot more sense. I get it now. Oh, I know what it is. I just didn't know what OF was. I don't know what you guys were talking about. There was no context. 2013, look at that. Aww. Brian, buy on pressurized gas. Doctor, download the demo. It does say doctor, not or. Pressurized cats. Clicks. That's like the worst industry to get involved in. It's staggering. Something like 65% end up unliving themselves. I guess we can use the YouTube friendly words. So yeah, it's not so great. Well, they no longer have any value. So when you get down to that industry, nobody's interested. So goodbye ever trying to make a family or anything like that. And so they usually end up really depressed, and then they usually end up on drugs, and usually they end up killing themselves. So it's a pretty horrific thing to get involved in. So it's really bad. So I guess they say that, it's easy money, but they're giving up a lot. So you lose a lot. So I wouldn't recommend that industry at all. It's pretty awful. $250. Were they really on the cover of New York Times? I find that hard to believe. And LA Times? I don't know. Oh, a little rat? What is that thing? Is that a guinea pig? It's hard I can't tell.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Destructoid. That's so funny how they're bashing the industry today. I kind of laugh at that. Oh my goodness. What's down there, I wonder? It's just the Hall of Awards. Blue door, red door, we saw that one. It's not that, it's just you lose all value. So men no longer see value
this
in
time
you.
from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
It's sad that GameSpot, I can't even trust their reviews anymore. But man, this is like a going back and it's crazy how much things have changed in 10 years. This was considered a 9 out of 10. This probably wouldn't even get like a 4 out of 5 or a 4 out of 10, I mean, today. So, it's just a horrific industry. That's all I can say. So, it's a trade that I just...
These
they don't
were
tell you
simpler
about all
times,
that.
Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again.
So I can't. Let's see. Can I go? Oh, yep. Here we go.
Wait. Hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Glowing reviews. Uh-oh. This is pretty funny. Uh-oh, not recommended.
I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Funny. Well, once again, if you ever go down that path, you can never get out of it. It's a one-way trip. You can never undo it. So once you go down that path, there's no coming back, and that's where the value starts decreasing. So you literally just turn yourself into an object instead of a person of value. And most decent men are not going to date you knowing that you're basically a porn star. So that's where it starts to go downhill. So it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of it. And there's many reasons why. So yeah, I would highly advise not ever doing anything like that. Highly advise against it. Because it's the ritz and the glamour don't last forever.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold
for
on
money.
To.
It's
These
easy.
black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
That's a rabbit hole that never ends. It's like, the buddy that always has a dare for you. Like, oh, I dare you to do that. So then you do it. And they come up with another dare that's even crazier to see if you'll do that one. And then you just keep on doing crazier and crazier and crazier things. That's exactly what you end up in. So they take everything from you. Everything that's sacred to your soul, they strip it away from you. And then whenever your looks go, they just kick you to the curb and they find the next one to do the exact same thing to. So now you're old and washed out, and then they go and they find the new young that's dumb and doesn't know better, and rinse and repeat, and it goes down the road. Because they don't care. As long as they make money, they don't care. So, and that's the devaluation. And by the time you get down to the bottom of the rabbit hole, nobody wants anything to do with you. And there's no going back. And that's just the reality of that industry. That's the reality that they don't want to talk about. And it's horrible, and
What's this
yeah,
one got to say?
Lot of death.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Just skip everything. We now have a skip button. What the hell is this?
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you
my
think.
nose.
Okay. So my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person?
Yeah, it's
and
really
in fact
dry.
do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both
Not
of
as dry
these
as it
things
was
at once,
yesterday.
that you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it.
I think this guy's
But
rambling
wouldn't you say
now.
that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. Ah. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look. I have a method for
Nope.
exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of...
I guess you can do
Oh,
that.
well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go
I
off on a
guess you could do
thoughtless
that.
display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their pressurized gas review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place.
What the
I guess I
hell?
should become better educated on how... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window, or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. Stanley! Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've
Going
just
on
been
for 12
frozen there.
hours.
I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room.
I'm wondering if he
Stanley,
really
the door
is.
gone. It's completely gone.
So it's
I've
like
looked at
what?
it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no door.
3?
There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it is
I have someone to
changing.
talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
The plant's
I've
dying.
been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would
Oh, this one's a long one.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you
Now
and
the
about
clock's
us
just
and about
stopped.
everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel.
Uh-oh. I think we killed him. Yeah, I think the clock stopped. I don't hear it ticking anymore. It's not moving. So it's like at 1 and 11. It's still at 1 and 11. What is that sound? Fire alarm?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others.
This guy's been going on for like a whole year.
Leave a review. So here's what we get.
Oh my god. Okay. I don't notice anything different in this. Still 11 and 1. It's hard to say which one is the hour and which one's the minute because they're like they're about the same size.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is
Oh, he's
never
back.
the end, is never 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 the end,
Oh my god, he's
never the
never
end, is
gonna stop.
is never the end, 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 is never the.
Yeah, no, clock is still the same. There's got to be a way out of here. The poor narrator. Wait. We got like water dripping now. Uh-oh. Oh, hello. Now the wall just collapsed and part of the roof. I think that's that pipe that was leaking. Oh, now we got a hole through the roof. What, something fell? Anything else? The narrator still hasn't come back. Now we got plants growing in here. Yeah, each skip is longer and longer and longer. And plants are going to overtake us. This fan was running too. Now it's not. So I don't know when the fan stopped. Oh, wow. Now it's like completely completely dead. Oh my lord, how long have we been down here for? That sounds weird. That sounds really weird. Oh, now the button's broke. Okay. Ah, here we go. What? Can I hit it again? Nope. There's nothing left. This is interesting. Now we're just back? Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
What new content? So the last one was new content. This is new content. Back itches. Oh. Right? I don't know how long it would take to destroy a building
good.
like that.
You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Do I believe this guy? Oh, rescuing Captain Keyes is awful. I hated that level.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Have they? The end is never the end again. Investor Showcase.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Long-time franchising potential. Oh my god, this game makes fun of the game industry so hard. Old and busted, new hotness. Oh my god. Two plants, two parts of the brain.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it.
Taste the
I
sequel.
figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Two eyes, two ears, two nostrils, two arms, two legs. Who took the red marker? Me. Scrum, design pitch, break, pitch design. Number 2, chat. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 4, 2, 7. My eyes are watering again. I want to know what the hell they've done to diesels. There was a whole bunch of diesels out and about today, and oh my god, they stink so bad anymore. I don't know what the hell they did to them. The sequel to the Stanley Parable is the prequel. Sequels are good. Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Batman Arkham Asylum 2, City, Divinity Original Sin 2, Doom 2, Aladdin 2, Return of Jafar, Dark Souls 2. Except Dark Souls 2 wasn't that great. Wait, are they saying that all of these aren't good? Portal 2 was good. Half-Life 2 was good. I didn't like Batman the Arkham City, though. I thought Doom 2 was pretty good. Can't say for Aladdin 2, though. This way to the show floor. New features. New content bus. Wow.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Hear your name in the game. No screenshots. Red is the new orange. The new updated ray traced, more of the same, but in a good way, sequel to the consistent quality with just the right amount of change. The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Jump circle, infinite hole. confusion. Are you getting all frustrated? That level's hard. I know exactly where you're at. Merch. The reassurance bucket. Oh my god. Oh, let's start over here.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Wait, there's a QR? I didn't even see it. Just right. Too small, too big. The actual buttons.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim.
Oh my god,
staying
this
up
game.
all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim. Developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim. Rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim. And finally, dying a slow death at an old age, surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
No.
If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Okay. Let's do it then.
Jim. Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Ah, damn it. Fine.
Jim. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Button that they came up with, the Jim button.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
All right, let's see if we can scan it. Does it actually come up with something?
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2.
Yeah, there it is.
Save me the work of finishing this feature.
I'll be damned. Let's see if it actually pulls anything up. Yeah. Sure does. The official website of the Stanley Parable 2. They give you a trailer. 2 years ago. Wow.
Say there, Timmy. What's that?
That's crazy. There's the YouTube video it gave me. I'll be damned. No, it leads to a website that tells you about the Stanley Parable too. And then gives you a YouTube video. Right? That's pretty clever. The button that says Jim. Okay, we did that. Let's see. With the reassurance bucket, we haven't done that yet. That's where we started. Let's see. Well, let's go from here. This is a room here.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Epilogue, okay. The hell? Collectibles. Free, new, and easy trophy. That's probably not easy, and it's probably not free. It's gotta be hard. Free, easy trophy. I bet you it's not. Get yours right now. Pull the lever, receive your new trophy. No more steps. It just works. It just works. It just works. Well, we all know it's not going to work. Okay. Dude, who made this game?
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the trophy will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
I knew it. It just works. Oh my god. You know who they're bashing there? Oh, that's good old Bethesda.
What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Fallout 4. Infinite Hole. Can you find them? Can you find them? Can you find them? Collect them all. Okay.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Oh, you actually can collect them. That's hilarious. Oh, hell. Wait, now there's like...
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
I was thinking you have to collect that one. That's hilarious. They actually have collectibles now. You are here map. Wow. Jump circle, the map, free trophy, merch, office decorations, collectibles, infinite hole, and exit. Exit, I guess, is there. Okay, we gotta do the reassurance bucket. What is this? Oh yeah, the jump circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
A nice decorative piece. Yeah, I see it. You're just talking about trying the level, right?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Get well someday. Happy 12th birthday, stepniece. I don't know.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, stepniece, it is.
Absolutely didn't matter.
Maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
No, I just didn't know what to say. I know that level can be a pain. Okay, the reassurance bucket.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Yay, we get a bucket.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
I didn't know, you didn't know what to say.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
This game is something else. Infinite hole. Oh, it's already after 8.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game.
Do you have an Xbox?
I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work.
I don't know if
There's
you can play more than 2 players
definitely a good game
anyway.
in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Oh, my back is itching.
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it.
My back is itching so bad.
With respect, with care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could, but it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
There. Oh, that feels so much better. Oh, why is my back itching so bad? Probably dry skin. It's gotta be. Oh my god, it's so itching. Oh. Oh, right there. Oh man. That's interesting. I'm wondering if this actually is the second game. Oh. Oh. That hallway is kind of cool how they did that. Okay, that feels better. My god, my back started itching like crazy. Sorry about that.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Now we got balloons.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Now it's like
Orders
back to
came
the
to him
original.
through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came.
I'm wondering if this is
Though
actually
he had been made exactly
Parable
for his
2.
job. And Stanley was happy.
Or if that's just
And then
an
one day,
advertisement.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions,
All the balloons.
call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something
It
was
is kind of
very clearly
Twilight
wrong.
Zone-ish, isn't it?
Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Look at all the balloons.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah, I gotta go take care of those cats.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
Bucket? What bucket? I don't see no bucket. Oh, the bucket.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Okay.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos.
What the
It
hell?
would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Eight.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
I got the 8 trophy. Oh, hey, what do you know? There's another one.
One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Yes, we got another one. This is such a strange game. Yeah, but why a bucket?
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if
Can
not
you
for the
even
bucket.
buy galvanized
Soothing
buckets
him,
anymore?
comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
With collectibles.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
So I'm wondering if this actually is the second game. That's what I don't know.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
27.
The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
So we're right there, 427. That's where we started. There's his office. The bucket started to cry. Okay.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
This game's so bizarre. Who
No! He
knows?
screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world.
It's
At
one
this point,
friend.
he could trust no one except for the bucket.
It's him and the bucket.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against...
Wondering if it's the same ending.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What?
Uh-oh.
Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms, not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room, but at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Eternity. And it's back. Oh my goodness. All right, well I better go get get these cats taken care of. I was hoping it would say at least we got that off the bucket list, but it never did. Missed opportunity. The sequel is now paused. It's never the end. Now it's saying 2. What? That is so weird. Is this really the second one? I don't know. I'm breaking the game even more. Alrighty, well I better go do that. Be back here shortly.